My name is Emily Carter and I'm 31 years old. For 6 years, I sent my parents $2,000 every single month without fail, so they could live comfortably in their retirement. That's $144,000 of my own money, money I earned working double shifts as a nurse, money I could have used for a house, for savings, for my own future. I never complained. I thought that's what good daughters did. I thought loyalty meant something to them. I was wrong, and I found out exactly how wrong on the one day I needed them most. It started 5 years ago, right after my father's small business failed. He'd run a hardware store in our hometown for over 2 decades, and when a big chain opened up 2 miles away, it crushed him within 18 months. My mother called me crying, saying they might lose the house, that they didn't know how they'd afford groceries, let alone the mortgage. I didn't hesitate. I set up an automatic transfer of $2,000 a month straight from my checking account to theirs. I told myself it was temporary, just until they got back on their feet. But the months turned into years, and the transfers never stopped, and honestly, I never asked them to stop. I loved my parents. I wanted them to be okay. What I didn't fully register, not until much later, was how comfortable had actually become for them. My mother started posting pictures from a cruise to Alaska. My father bought a fishing boat, a used one, but still, a boat. They redid their kitchen with granite countertops. I saw all of this on Facebook while I was eating instant noodles in my studio apartment after a 12-hour shift, and I told myself I was happy for them. I told myself that's what family does, you give without keeping score. I believed that with my whole heart, right up until the morning of my wedding. I met Daniel 3 years ago in the hospital cafeteria, of all places. He was there visiting his grandmother, and he spilled coffee on my scrubs and apologized so many times I finally laughed and told him it was fine, just buy me a coffee sometime to make up for it. He did. Then he did it again. 18 months later, he proposed on the rooftop of the restaurant where we had our first real date, and I said yes before he even finished the question. My parents seemed thrilled when I told them. My mother cried on the phone. My father asked if he could walk me down the aisle, and I said, of course, who else would I want? I sent them the save the date months in advance. I called every few weeks with updates about the venue, the flowers, the guest list. My mother always answered, always sounded engaged, asked about colors and food and whether Daniel's parents were nice. I had no reason to think anything was wrong. The morning of the wedding, I was in the bridal suite at 8:30, getting my hair done, sipping champagne with my bridesmaids, feeling like the luckiest woman alive. The ceremony was scheduled for 2 o'clock in the afternoon. By 11 o'clock, my parents still hadn't checked into the hotel where we'd reserved a room for them. I texted my mother. No response. I texted my father. Nothing. I told myself they were just running late. Maybe stuck in traffic. Maybe my father was fussing over his tie in front of a mirror somewhere. By noon, I started calling. The first 3 calls went straight to voicemail. On the 4th attempt, my mother finally picked up. I could hear noise in the background, laughter, glasses clinking, the unmistakable sound of a restaurant or a bar. Mom, where are you? The ceremony is in 2 hours. There was a pause, and then she said, in a tone I will never forget for the rest of my life, don't bother us right now, Emily. We're busy. Then the line went dead. I stood there in my wedding dress, phone still pressed to my ear, and I genuinely thought I had misheard her. I called back. It rang 4 times and went to voicemail. I called my father. Straight to voicemail, too. I sat down on the edge of a velvet chair in that bridal suite, and my hands started shaking so badly that my bridesmaid Rachel had to take the phone from me before I dropped it. I don't remember making the decision consciously. It was almost automatic, like something in me finally clicked into place after years of being quietly overlooked. I opened my banking app right there in my dress, my hands still trembling, and I canceled the automatic transfer to my parents' account. Then I went further. I removed them as authorized users on the credit card I'd added them to years ago for emergencies. I revoked their access to the joint savings account I'd opened for my father's medical expenses. Every single financial thread connecting me to them, I cut one by one in under 10 minutes while my makeup artist stood frozen behind me, not knowing what to do. 30 minutes later, my phone started buzzing on the vanity table over and over, my mother's name flashing on the screen again and again, then my father's, then my mother's once more. I looked at Rachel. She looked at me, and for the first time all morning, I didn't feel like crying. I felt something else entirely, something colder and clearer, and I picked up the phone. My hands weren't shaking anymore when I answered. My voice came out flat, steady, nothing like the woman who'd been in tears 10 minutes earlier. Mom. Silence on the other end. Just breathing and the faint sound of a restaurant in the background, quieter now than before. Then my mother's voice, sharp and urgent in a way it hadn't been an hour ago. Emily, what did you do? The card got declined. We're at the Hendersons' anniversary lunch, and I can't pay for anything. This is humiliating. I actually laughed, a short, hollow sound that surprised even me. You're at a lunch. My wedding started 40 minutes ago, Mom. You told me not to bother you. There was a long pause, and I could hear my father's voice in the background asking what was going on, and my mother covering the phone, whispering something I couldn't make out. When she came back, her tone had shifted, softer now, wheedling. Honey, it's not what it sounds like. The Hendersons invited us weeks ago, and we didn't want to be rude. We figured we'd swing by the reception later. I cut her off. There is no reception for you to swing by. I closed every account. The $2,000 a month stops today. It's over. My father grabbed the phone then, his voice loud and indignant, the same voice he used to use when I was 16 and missed curfew. Emily, you can't just cut us off like this. We have bills, we have a mortgage. I said, very calmly, you have a boat, Dad. You have granite countertops. You'll figure it out. And I hung up. I sat there for a moment in the silence of the bridal suite, and Rachel knelt in front of me and took both my hands. You don't have to do this today, she said gently. You can deal with them later. Right now, you have a wedding. She was right, and something about hearing it out loud steadied me. I looked at myself in the mirror, mascara slightly smudged from tears I hadn't even realized had fallen, and I told my makeup artist to fix it. 15 minutes later, I walked down the aisle alone, on my own 2 feet, no father beside me, and honestly, it felt like the most honest thing that had happened all day. Daniel was standing at the altar, and when he saw me walking by myself, I watched his jaw tighten, and I knew he understood immediately what had happened without me saying a single word. The ceremony was beautiful anyway. My uncle, my mother's brother, stepped in at the last second to stand beside me when he realized my parents' seats were empty, and he squeezed my hand the entire time like he was silently apologizing for his sister. During the reception, my phone kept buzzing in my clutch bag, message after message from my mother, then my father, then my mother again, growing increasingly frantic. I didn't look at a single one until the next morning. When I finally did read them, sitting on the couch in my new apartment with Daniel's arm around me, the messages told a story I hadn't fully pieced together before. My parents hadn't just skipped my wedding for a lunch. They'd known about the Hendersons' anniversary event for over a month, the same amount of time they'd known about my wedding date, and they'd chosen the lunch, a lunch with people I didn't even know that well, over walking their only daughter down the aisle. Buried in one of my mother's later messages, sent around midnight, was the real reason underneath all of it. She admitted, almost as an afterthought, that they'd been embarrassed to show up because they hadn't bought a gift, hadn't budgeted for one, because they'd spent the month's transfer on the boat's engine repair instead. They hadn't skipped my wedding because of confusion or an accident. They'd skipped it because showing up empty-handed felt worse to them than not showing up at all. I didn't respond to any of the messages that day, or the day after. Daniel and I left for our honeymoon 3 days later, and for the first time in 6 years, I didn't check my banking app wondering if the transfer had gone through correctly. I didn't feel guilty. I felt lighter than I had in years, like I'd been carrying a weight I didn't even realize was crushing me until it was gone. My parents have called a handful of times since. I haven't answered. Some debts aren't about money at all, and I finally understand that the only person who was ever going to protect my worth was me. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe for more real-life stories like this one. Hit the bell icon so you never miss the next video, and let us know in the comments what you would have done in Emily's place. See you in the next story.